All right, welcome into another Front Office Sports webinar. Super excited to have you guys joining us here on this Thursday afternoon. For those who are on East Coast, and the Thursday late morning for those who are on the West Coast. I'm Adam White with Front Office Sports and super excited to have you guys joining us today. Today we're going to be covering how today's brands are maximizing sponsorship ROI with their own analytics. So super excited to have a great panel. Really pumped, obviously, to be joined by GumGum and have their support to put this on and bring everyone together. And so for those who are just joining us, who haven't joined in an FOS webinar before, make sure you jump in the chat and say hello, your name, where you're from. And then if you guys have questions throughout the webinar, please make sure you are jumping into the questions tab on your screen and throwing them in there. We'll try to get to as many as we can. We're planning for about a 45-minute to an hour discussion, just so you guys know. But really just hopefully you guys have an opportunity to engage and network with people in the chat. We'll get to as many questions as you can. We have a super lively discussion coming your way. And we're really excited that you guys could join us, and we're really thankful for GumGum's support as well. But again, super excited to get started here, and I'm going to turn it over to our panelists who will be joining us today, and I will start with Tori at GumGum. So Tori Stevens, SVP of Customer Success at GumGum Sports.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here. I oversee the customer success group for GumGum Sports globally and working across all of our different clients around the globe. For those of you who are less familiar with our business, we provide sort of AI-powered sponsorship analytics, and it's the focus of what we'll be talking today is how our clients are using those analytics to really optimize their sponsorships. We do work with rights holders, we work with agencies, we work with media companies, and we work with brands. Brands are sort of a big area of growth for us right now, and it's an area that's very near and dear to my heart. I started, I spent a chunk of my career in sponsorship consulting working with brands. So very happy to have two of our brand clients joining us today. I'm hoping they're going to be doing most of the talking. You're going to want to hear more from them than from me. So I can turn it over to you, Anne, to introduce yourself.
Great. Hi, everyone. Anne Ristow, and I look after global sponsorships for Dell Technologies. I'd actually love to even start just by noting that Dell Technologies is actually rather new, and the company was formed 4 years ago when Dell acquired EMC and other related businesses. And it's worth noting because I think everyone knows Dell, and they know Michael Dell, but they also know us for just PCs. And so a big part of our sponsorship strategy and really our business and brand objectives over the last 4 years are making Dell Technologies known, and for more than just the PC, but really integrated enterprise solutions. And so we focus very much on not only IT decision makers, but really the C-suite who are buying our technology and solutions. We very much are deliberately Dell Technologies and sponsorships, and we use other brands, whether it's Dell, EMC, VMware, etc., more as products, and really don't, we're leaning into the overarching parent. The one exception is Alienware, and that's not me. Those partnerships are separate. They're really cool because they are the top of the line and leading market share position in PC gaming. They have a couple partnerships with Riot and with Team Liquid. Whereas for Dell Technologies, again, that C-suite audience, we have two big global brand reach with the PGA Tour and with McLaren. And then we also are very deliberate about our centers of gravity. And so where we have a big team member base, we have executive briefing centers that we drive worldwide customers and partners to, which for us is Austin, Boston, the Bay Area in North America, and probably London and Singapore internationally. And then we also look at some key, whether it's customer or partner markets, or if we have a targeted objective where we want to showcase a technology or reach a specific audience, we do test and learn as well with our partnerships. But the bulk is really in those, what I would call our big brand and our centers of gravity.
Awesome, and she is one half of the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry we have on the panel today.
Go blue! I hope we have some friends here.
They promised they were going to wear jerseys, but maybe later. But awesome, we're excited to have you, Ann, and really glad to have you here. Tony, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely, Adam. Thanks for the invite. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Tony Merrick. I am the director of marketing for our global sponsorships and activation. And I manage all of our sponsorships. We have multiple brands out there. we're a little different than other companies, but we have, consumer brands, professional brands. We have B2B businesses. So wherever you might see maybe Stanley or DeWalt, Craftsman, Mac Tools, Irwin, those are our consumer brands, our professional brands. Then we have B2B businesses also that oil and gas, security, healthcare, infrastructure. So we're a pretty big company. We've got about 65,000 employees, and my job is to partner with the right sponsorships to deliver visibility, engagement, driving revenue, and living out our purpose through our partnerships.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you guys all joining us. As you can see, the chat's super lively. So appreciate everyone who's joining us in today as well. So like I said, we're trying to get to as many questions as possible. We're going to try and get to as many answers as possible for you all today. But really kind of want to get started off. I know you, Ann and Tony, you both hit on a few things, right? That Dell Technologies is not just about selling computers. You're about selling more. DeWalt, you have a consumer business and a B2B business. As you look at the ROO, the ROI for all of those different things, maybe it's B2C, maybe it's B2B, how are you evaluating them, kind of the key objectives, what properties are you looking at? So, on the Dell Technologies side of things, what are you looking at when it comes to B2B versus B2C? Is it different on the DeWalt side of things and anything else in your brand portfolio? How are you maybe servicing the B2B versus the B2C? So I think it's a very different kind of approach. I think it's the one that's growing obviously in this space as more of these crossover type business solution companies or just even brands that come into sports and what they're trying to do. But I'd love for you guys to start us off to talk about just kind of your approach and all of your different markets and then kind of your ROI measurements for such.
Very good. Ann, you want to start?
Cool, sure, I'll jump in. So it very much is a balanced scorecard for us. And, if there's one thing our CMO has, kind of used as a mantra, it's, we first start with objectives and business outcomes. We then want creative breakthrough, and we want one team, which, for our company is 90 billion in revenue, 167,000 employees. Even prior to Dell, I looked after sponsorships for EMC. We had some that were in corporate, some that were in theaters or countries, some was in sales, some was in marketing. And so we're, very much on a path of, we want to do, fewer partnerships really well to get that breakthrough. We want to have clear objectives, and then we want to measure those. And I think it's, absolutely been a journey. And, certainly on the EMC side, which, probably unless you worked in IT, you might not know because it's enterprise technology, servers, storage, backup. A lot of what we did was kind of hospitality oriented and using our partners to showcase, how they take advantage of our capabilities. But then, we would drive customers to our briefing center and take them to Fenway Park. And, we could do that all day long. And it certainly doesn't matter, if you're from Ohio or Japan, everyone wants to come and see this gem in Boston. And so, that worked really well for us. And I think we had a very strong foundation on, using our attendee data and who was attending and what pipeline was it driving, was it converting, are we reaching our white space and target segments, but much less so on the brand side. And I think even over the past couple of years, we've evolved quite a bit from measuring media, measuring social, measuring each of these aspects of a sponsorship, and really looking at them as integrated platforms and how they're impacting the overall marketing mix and go-to-market. And so that's been really key. It's also hard because we have, very big, top-level goals, whether it's market share, revenue, NPS type things, and how do you, translate that down to what the sponsorship is delivering. So we do both. We do the big level metrics, and obviously we play a role in that. And then we also do a lot to optimize within the sponsorships as well.
Cool. So I guess, the question I get asked all the time is, what's your KPIs and are we in the right place? And I think, having so many different brands that each brand has its own personality. It has its own meaning. It has its own KPIs. So when we look at sponsorships within Stanley Black Decker, we measure it, we want to be seen, whether it's on field, whether it's on track, wherever it may be. We want to be seen. We want to create a customer experience that none of our competitors can offer. So whether it's you taking them to the Masters or to the Wimbledon, we want to drive revenue, whether it's B2B business, working with those sponsors with our partner, or whether it's, doing a sweepstakes online, generating entries for a Craftsman Club, promotions. And we want to live out our purpose through these partnerships also. So it's about, our for those who make the world is our tagline. And so we want to partner with other, teams, whatever you want to call it, that live our same values, basically. So whether it's, we have brands that's just North America, we've got brands that are global. So when we look at a mix of sponsorships, like, our global properties right now are FC Barcelona, we're the jersey sponsors for the Femini team. So we get a lot of visibility there. We believe in women's equality and giving them the same platform that men have, to EPL. And, our EPL play is about eyeballs. I mean, EPL has 3 billion fans across the world. And so TV in Asia and the different, global properties, I think that probably the U.S. has a large group of EPL fans too. So we really pick and choose where we go globally in North America, whether it's, our NASCAR program targeting, you look at NASCAR and you look at our brands and how embedded we are in that sport, whether they're using a blower on pit road, or whether they're using, one of our saws to cut off the front of a car, or our cabinets in their haulers, or whether you're turning into a Major League Baseball game and you see one of our brands in the outfield or behind home plate, we're tracking every one of these things, whether it's visibility, and we'll probably get into talk about promotions and tracking analytics a little later.
Awesome. No, appreciate you guys providing that primer. And also for those who are joining us, there's a polls tab at the top in the screen too, where we're going to have a couple polls in there for you guys. So if you want to answer those, that'd be great as well. I think, Tony and Ann, you guys are spread out, right? And you guys mentioned it for various reasons. Obviously the pandemic has probably changed a lot of thought process around sponsorships and kind of how you're activating and everything like that. Do you guys now believe you'll over-index one way or another? Is it more consumer spend versus B2B spend? Is it differentiation B2B spend versus B2C spend, right? Because historically B2B spend, as you guys already noted, is really hospitality driven, things like that. How does that change? What does that look like? How do sports teams, leagues, properties who are predicated on that hospitality oftentimes help you guys shepherd that into where how can, I'll just, random team X help you reach a IT decision makers if they can't come to the Red Sox game, right? So like, talk us through how you're not only looking at both the B2B and B2C breakdown going forward, but how you're evaluating those opportunities when, especially on the B2B side, hospitality at the moment is still extremely hard and might be for the next, 6 to 8 months in a large scale capacity.
And you want to go or you want me to go?
Sure, yeah, no, I'll jump in. And so, because Dell Technologies really is very targeted more at a B2B audience, it is a challenge. I think it's the opportunity also we've had is just to find new ways to engage our audiences. And, we found when you do engaging content, no matter if it's in person or virtual, people are interested. And I think that's really the magic of sponsorship. And also probably the hard part of it to measure is that, sometimes for, solutions that we offer that can be very complex, whether it's, infrastructure or cloud or data analytics, making it real with a team or a property who is really compelling, like our customers love to hear about that. And I think we also believe that there isn't a real substitute for live experiential, but until it comes back that there are interesting ways, and it's, caused us to look harder at what we can do and how we can leverage these. I think it's also been part of our analytics journey because, I think when I, first met Tori, it was really because a lot of our partners were using GumGum and it was, better analytics. And one of the things we found is that it's, the need to be agile is critical more than ever. And when we could, do a quarterly check-in or an annual recap and have that data, it was great. We could make our plans for next year because we knew our 5 tentpole events and how we would engage our partners throughout our year. But now, it's much shorter. We have to be nimble. We have to be dynamic. And so I'll use Tori as an example, but when we're looking at our McLaren placements for next year on the brand side, we would test them in a Grand Prix, and then we'd log into the dashboard on Monday and see how they did, and then we could make those real-time adjustments. And so, that agility and that speed of data and ability to take it and make decisions and put it into action has been important more than ever. And we're finding new ways to leverage these partnerships until the live experiences come back.
Tori, how has that changed on your side of things, right? How is it from an analytics and measurement standpoint? Obviously, you're measuring the digital, you're measuring stuff that's going on online or that's being broadcast. Just with the pandemic and kind of a shifting module, what are even people looking for, right? Or what are properties looking for? What are brands looking for? How are you kind of evaluating that?
It's a great question. I mean, this year has been so unusual, obviously, on so many fronts. And I think if you think about those properties that are at home, right, in their own stadiums and venues versus even those that are in bubble environments, they take very different approaches, right? And the bubble environments were all about creating brand new assets and innovating and coming up with new things where the brand partners had no visibility into sort of the value of those things and what they would be worth, and a lot more focus on make goods. So for us, we've spent a lot of time this year helping our rights holder partners think through that and really help them identify new ways to drive value through both new and existing assets. And then with our brand partners, the focus has been a lot on helping them understand where value is coming from and how their strategies can potentially shift. What you were just saying, Anne, obviously with no fans in the stands, a lot more focus on digital engagement. And the power of really good branded content where brands and rights holders can come together to create truly engaging content at a relatively minimal cost. A lot of focus on that, particularly when things went very quiet in the March-April timeframe when there was no live sports happening and no broadcast happening. So I think what's exciting is we've seen this year more than ever, with budgets also being cut, more sort of need than ever to have this sort of data to really be able to, whether it's internal justification, not to put Anna and Tony on the spot, to be able to say, hey, we're spending this money and look at the return we're actually getting. That didn't used to happen typically on the brand side. Budgets would be allocated, and then at least many of the brands I work with in my past, it was more focused on ROO and return on objectives than ROI. Now with every dollar sort of being scrutinized, this data is a great way to justify internal spending and also optimize it. And we can talk more about that in terms of some of the use cases that we see, with brands specifically and how they're leveraging this data to make it really work for them.
Awesome. Sounds good. Tony, I think you're still with us. You may have had we may have lost your camera. Anne may have something to do with that because you're an Ohio State guy. Michigan wants the floor, but would love to kind of get your thoughts on that as well. I think you're still with us.
Is he there? I can give another real-time example too, building on what Tori was saying.
That'd be great.
Our PGA Tour partnership with Dell Technologies Match Play being really a key, again, one of those flagships events for us. Normally, we're starting our new TV creative and bursting the campaign. We're also hosting customers and partners and prospects on site in Austin at our headquarters. We're engaging our government affairs team. Our supplier conference usually takes place at the same time. It's just a great opportunity to use the platform and bring all of our key audiences to Austin. And this year we're optimistic, or maybe I should say cautiously optimistic, we'll have some fans, but we know it's not going to be business as usual as we're looking out towards March. And so how do we lean into the broadcast? How do we lean into digital and social? how do we lean into influencer engagement and doing, interesting things in virtual environments for our target audiences. And, one of the GumGum ones I loved is, pretty simple. We're just the tea boxes. They actually get, very long 14-second duration. And it was one of when we looked at, across all the value drivers of our tour partnership, it was one of the lowest because just the way the logo is and the camera angles. And I mean, that's such an easy, fix and relatively inexpensive to do and implement. And so, a lot of great things that you can find within the data and, ability to plan for, again, what will be different and new as we move forward.
We talked about ROO as we're trying to get Tony here back on. Objectives, obviously, there's a lot going on in the world right now. That's an understatement, right? So from a brand perspective and heading into 2021, hopefully coming out of a pandemic and some sort of return to a normalcy that we saw prior to it and all the other stuff that's going on, how has your objectives changed? What does that look like from a sports standpoint? What does that look like from an overall standpoint, just from a technologies and kind of approaching 2021, maybe even differently or doubling down on certain things, just kind of talking us through that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the probably fundamental criteria for making a sponsorship successful is having those clear objectives and outcomes. Because I think, this stuff is fun and it's cool. And some people say, oh, we want to do this. And it's like, okay, why? What are we achieving? Is it visibility? Is it, pipeline? Is it revenue acceleration? Is it, kind of a showcase? And so, I would say that our key focus areas haven't changed and that, we want our partners to be, very compelling kind of living labs and showcases of our solutions. We want to have the brand visibility. That's something we've been able to continue and to actually just to optimize in new ways. The experiential piece is probably the most different, but we've, done tons in virtual experiences from Dell Technologies world. So we're just kicking off our forums, which normally are big engagement points for us. I think one of the nice pieces is, and I think many brands are guilty of this, is we very much focus on the revenue and the customer, objectives. We've spent a lot more time thinking about our team members and our prospective team members. And, I think all of the work from home environments, it's more human. You're seeing everyone's kids and dogs and hearing the piano playing. And, it's been, I think we all miss having the execution and all the live hospitality and that busyness, but it's also been a nice time to step back and say, hey, where are the ways we can use these differently? And, for us, instead of, internal engagement being like one more thing to do, it's like, oh no, we can take content that we have. And we've seen such a great reaction from team members and future team members who see that we're in these places.
Awesome. Tori, how has it been on your side? Obviously, you guys are evaluating and speaking with a bunch of different clients, from brands to properties and everything like that. But when it comes to looking at objectives and measurement of objectives going forward now, how has it changed? What are people talking about? What are they looking for? Taking us through that as we head into 2021, because I'm assuming a lot of people on here are going to want to know, because that's probably going to drive how they're pitching different programs or prospects.
Yeah, it obviously varies whether you're working with rights holders, brands, agencies, media companies. We have, a very large and wonderful client base of rights holders who frankly are really, in a very client, partner first mode of, ensuring that they're doing everything possible to drive value back to their partners. Like, that comes as no surprise, obviously, given the world that, we're living in. I think on the brand side, what we're seeing is, the focus is, well, it depends on the brand, right? Whether they're looking for top of funnel sort of metrics around, brand awareness, brand health. That's certainly something that, doesn't seem to change, or more around engagement. I think where it comes back to the measurement piece, where this year in particular, we've had more and more brands who have reached out to say, I'm spending a lot of money, and I get great, reporting back from my rights holder partners, but I might, let's say I have a portfolio of NFL teams as an example, and I'm a brand. I might be getting different sources of data from them if each works with a different vendor. And I want to have that ability to now say, all right, I really want to see what's working across my portfolio. And I feel like what we're seeing more and more on the brand side is brands trying to take control of the narrative themselves, and leaning in and realizing they don't have to spend a ton of money to get access to something that's going to provide tremendous, insight for them. And so a lot of our focus on the brand side is, we'll get into the, as we sit with them in terms of understanding their objectives, and then it's how can our data and insights help them in achieving those objectives. I will say from some of our brand clients, and not surprising, a lot of focus on community this year, and working with their rights holder partners on CSR initiatives. It's that sort of a year, right, where you may not be able to engage on site, but you can still have an impact in a community or in the markets that you're, really targeting and going after. So we've seen a lot of that, and that can come out in different ways, right? Whether it's sponsoring, food drives and initiatives, or whether it's working on creating really compelling branded content together with partners. So it's across the board, but I think what is interesting, at least with our brand clients, is it's less about sort of, having their budgets decline because certain elements of their budgets are coming out, hospitality and things like that, and more about how they can better make the contracts and assets they have work for them and work in a more proper way.
100%. That makes sense. And Tony, hopefully your computer isn't a Dell. We won't tell.
Definitely not.
It is
Probably a network issue.
I just wanted to put the Michigan fan on, see if she can handle pressure.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Got it.
I got it. Well, I'll add one tutorial, then you have to jump back in. But I think in addition to the control of the data that Tori talked about, it's the consistency, and it's also the ability to customize it, that our partners and our agencies provide lots of value to us, but they never know our priorities and our business objectives as well as we do. And so, being able to have a consistent, customizable way to measure how we're tracking against that, and then again to be agile, has been really key into owning our own story and narrative. And some of it is the trust but verify, for sure. But I would say even more important is we want to be able to think about new programs and initiatives, and then to immediately be able to control our metrics and understand what worked, what didn't, is this successful, would we do it again?
Awesome. Speaking of metrics, and this is I'll toss to Tony since he's back now, and then back to you, Ann. But talk us through your metrics stack or your sponsorship analytics stack, kind of what you're using, what you're evaluating, what data you're ingesting, and then how you're using the data you're ingesting to drive the decisions that you're making, right? And any type of examples, or maybe it was something like, Tony, you guys saw that I think the Barcelona would be a great one. You saw that you guys over-indexed on the female side of things, and so you decided to go heavy into that, right? So if you guys could both just take us through what that data and analytics stack looks like, and what you're kind of ingesting, and how that's driving your decisions moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize for the disconnect. But GumGum's been great for us. We started, really tracking with them about 2 years ago, I think. And it was really important to us because we was getting data from our partners, and our partners, sometimes you just didn't know if you should trust that data. And now some of our partners use GumGum now. We've sent them to GumGum, so we know that we're getting back is good. But we use other, Crisp and Social Bakers to help us manage things. But let's talk about like our Racing for a Miracle program. Before I got cut off, we was talking about virtual and versus in person. We just ran our 14th year campaign with the Racing for a Miracle program. And basically it's a program that we do with our NASCAR team where we take it to different markets. And we partner with ACE. We've been a partner with ACE for 90 years. And we make a donation to the Children's Miracle Network Hospital. And then we invite children out to the racetrack to experience a race. So we make them pit crew members. We put them on the pit box. And we really had to change that up this year because we had to go completely virtual. We worked with NBC Sports. We worked with Joe Gibbs Racing. And we was really worried about this because it's always been an in-person activation before. But with the metrics that we got back from GumGum, and we was able to track going into that Charlotte market and seeing if there was a lift, it really, showed that engagement was up, visibility was up, impressions was up. I hate to say it, will we ever take it back to physical? Yes, I hope we do someday. But we was agile and we made a change. We took it completely virtual, and it paid off because of the data that we got from GumGum tracking that promotion.
Tony, I think you made a good point about taking what you're measuring online and actually understanding if it's driving in-store sales or true revenue goals outside of like awareness and brand stuff. How much more important has that been now more than ever and going forward? And theoretically, sports teams predominantly have relied on bigger audiences and things like that and more awareness level packages. How has that changed for you guys in working with teams and leagues to drive performance-driven stuff? And are you changing? I know there's a lot of different brands out there. Anheuser-Busch is probably one of the biggest ones who said, yes, we'll spend money with you, but we'll spend more money if you're providing a certain KPI. Is that where you guys are seeing this going as well?
Yeah, I think you're seeing a shift to digital for everybody. I think that's what we really need to do. But I never thought that we would be hiring data scientists. We are hiring data scientists, and we're working with them with certain brands. When we run a promotion in a market, with the data that we get back from GumGum, they put it in this, I don't know what it is, but they put it in some kind of system, and they actually tell us, what the promotion drove in the market. Did we see a spike in sales? What kind of engagement was it? The visibility that we got, the impressions that we got. And so we can take that data and we can decide, hey, do we want to invest in this year, or do we want to do something else? And so I definitely think in the future, we'll make changes due to these data scientists. And so we hope and that when we run a promotion in a market, we do see a lift and we see positive engagement. But I do think that you'll see more of a shift to digital versus, sponsorships in the future.
Awesome. I love it. And back over to Ann, just taking us back through.
They're different from us just because of the length of enterprise selling cycles. But again, going back to, even at the highest levels of not so much awareness, because obviously even Dell Technologies, it does have ubiquitous awareness of the D can to DLL, but really understanding the capabilities and purpose of the company. And so, again, when we can showcase our full set, end to end of solutions, and to be known for, that, and to really be the enterprise provider of choice is critical for us. And then, we see it lots of ways that we are measuring not only who's coming and what did they drive in terms of business with us, and those have always been positive, as well as the big brand metrics around not awareness but preference, loyalty. How do we see that carrying through from folks who've seen our tournament or attended and seen our campaigns? We always see a big positive lift for those who've done both.
I think also, before I got cut off, I was going to mention, I think when events come back, physical events come back where we can host people, I think those assets are going to be so valuable to get, because I think the way the world's going to change, we might only be able to do 50% capacity. So instead of inviting 100 people, you're going to invite 50. And so, they're going to be in high demand once, those physical events come back.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I've told a few people I'm pretty bullish on the fact that events are going to be in high demand, especially if more people are working from home and things like that, because events or those gathering things will be when the time they see people, when the time they get jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So I think in 6 months, you'll probably see hopefully a rebounding in that industry and that side of things. But on the McLaren side of things, and from a data standpoint, obviously F1 and that whole sector is a little bit different in the US, right? It's a very international sport. It's starting to become more US driven. What was it about McLaren that made sense? What metrics were you seeing off that F1 partnership that you're like, hey, yeah, like this is who we want to be in front of. They're integrating our stuff. They're integrating our technology. And just continuing to, like, I wouldn't say validate but like maybe it's a next motorsports thing, or you know what I mean? Like, what does that look like from a data standpoint as you ingest that and then make a decision on F1 and maybe it's NASCAR next, or, you know, just kind of understanding that?
Yeah, and first and foremost, it was that we wanted whether you call it a truly global platform or rest of world ex-US, and we were very US centric and wanted to appeal, to our global audiences. And that technology foundation is just key. And McLaren is one that they've been a customer for years before we did a marketing partnership. So it wasn't something we were making up proof points and showing ways that we integrated, but it was very authentic and natural. And truly, I think what's exceptional about F1 is it is a partnership between human and machine, and technology is so critical to how they compete, which I was not a motorsport fan at all, and so it was a great education. And what I can appreciate is they truly are masters of their craft, from 20,000 parts in a car, and over the course of the season it will refresh itself every 6 weeks, and how you transfer data trackside back to the command center in Woking, and how you design everything and use predictive analytics is really incredible. And so to be part of that and to be able to use it again to showcase what Dell Technologies is and can do has been extremely successful for us. We didn't actually use a ton of the hospitality because of a lot of our top markets in EMEA are UK, Germany, and France, and they're highly regulated. And so instead we've had their CEO, COO, and CIO on our big stages around the world, whether it's at Dell Technologies World in Las Vegas or Shanghai or Sao Paulo. And people love to hear about what they're doing and how they're achieving their business outcomes with our technology, and it's just such a really cool way to do that. So bringing them into our key events where we've created the audience has been awesome. I'd say obviously with the pandemic it's been different, and so one of the things that was a huge highlight this year is we created a STEM series with them in social called McLaren Substitute Teacher. Really snappy 2 to 3 minute lessons on STEM topics that apply to racing. We had folks from our CTO office, their engineers involved, Lando Norris, the driver, and that was a huge hit. And again, it was so great, a CSR topic that we're both passionate about, have such a strong foundation for. It hit our target audiences who are struggling to balance working from home and kids and everything else, and we got a huge reaction from team members as well. So that was a really cool one too. And I think that adaptability that is based on that authentic partnership and foundation has been a huge reason for the success.
Awesome. Love to hear that. And Tony, or Tori, on your side of things, I think you were talking about using analytics to understand properties that may not be like super popular, but are very undervalued from a sponsorship side of things. What is that are you seeing right now in the space? And then just some of the other things around how you guys have been able to leverage the analytics for partners like Stanley Black Decker, Dell Technologies, and what going forward, even that analytics looks like, right? Is it changing? What you guys are doing, is it changing? Are the clients like Stanley Black Decker and Dell asking for more? So couple part question there. One being, where are the low performing or underperforming opportunities that people could invest in and look at? And then the other one being, what's the evolution look like from a sponsorship analytics side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's amazing is, obviously depending on the type we work across literally, I think 20 different genres of sport. around the globe. So literally everything from darts and swimming to motorsports and NFL, NBA. And I think the value equations are what you'd imagine, right? In terms of the different types of tiering of sport and the value that's out there. And so it's hard for me to kind of answer that question specifically without divulging too much proprietary data, Adam, as it relates to sort of where the value buys are right now. We'd be more than happy to have those conversations given.
So marble racing is one.
Marble racing.
It's amazing. I don't know if anyone's watched it, but marble racing on YouTube is electric. I definitely recommend. It's pretty interesting. I know we have a lot of motorsports people on here, but
I mean, I think that's the beauty of sport, right? And the power of sport is depending on your brand, depending on what your objectives are, depending on what your budgets are, and even, take the sort of on-site hospitality elements out of it. There are incredible properties out there that can deliver great value. I think what's interesting for us is as we work across so many different types of sport and esports as well, is that we like to look at the sort of full picture, and it's one of our points of differentiation is that we're sort of a single point of measurement or single unit of measurement across broadcast, social, and streaming. And so if you're more interested in social, or you care about all, like, different properties drive significantly different value on just the social side, based on their engagement and based on their following and all of that. I mean, no surprise, EPL and NBA are probably at the forefront of that. And so even that can come into the equation, and we can help work with our brand partners and having them understand that, going back to sort of what we were talking about before, depending on what their objectives are. So I think it's fun. It's fun to be able to sort of, work with brand partners who, some of our use cases we were talking about, Anne and Tony have hit on some of them, where it's, really understanding an asset that may be working or not working, and having that conversation early with a partner to be able to change it. Tony, we had a great example, right, with you with, I think it was EPL, where it was literally like a sign maybe that was based on the broadcast angles behind a goalpost, and it was early in the season, and your partner's going to be more than happy to adjust, right? So there's things like that, optimizing creative, all of that. But I think having that more holistic view across the data to really understand, or I lost my train of thought there. The use case I was going to bring up was competitive analysis. So let's say Anne is interested in, a marquee asset, but she doesn't know what she wants yet or what sort of team. Like, we will work with brands to track those. And so you could be making a decision in a market, let's say New York, or let's say Boston, Anne, because we're both here in Boston, between the Patriots, the Celtics, and the Red Sox, right? And so having the ability and knowing what your budgets are, having the ability to go in and say, all right, what do we think is going to drive more value in that particular market, because it's a market that's important to you. So that's some of the value.
There, we love them all.
Yes, we love them all. We do.
I would say to add on to that too is, true partnership really is a gift. And I think the best places where we're using data is when we have our point of view and our objectives, and we're sharing our, initiatives and data with our partners, and they're bringing to the table the way they look at things. And that's when we create a really unique and breakthrough activations. So and I think one thing that is, awesome, and just seeing the comments in the chat and things, I think sponsorships is kind of a unique area of marketing, where wherever you are in your analytics journey, people are willing to help, and they want to, the MarTech area is exploding, but my peers across so many different industries, are always willing to share best practices, tools, anything that they're doing with partners. And I think that's unique. It's, where people want to see sponsorship successful, because they can be harder to put into a certain box.
Yeah, and I think, what Tori was saying, what I love about GumGum, when we do a monthly meeting, or, they give us the pointers. So they might be looking at EPL and they say, hey, let's change this sign. Or, I remember on the last call, they said, on your NASCAR, you should probably move this here, because they know where it's going to get more visibility. So I think, that was something that Tori, brought up, that, that I think is important. And what I love is the way GumGum can help guide and direct me to get more visibility out of our properties. And I think that they do a great job at that.
Awesome. Love it. Well, as you guys know, the questions and chat are on fire right now. So I'm going to try and get to some of the questions being asked for you guys here. Let's see. First one, I think is an interesting one from Sean, and this is I think for both of you guys, Sean O'Hara, but it definitely references an HP opportunity. But for Anne, what about customer loyalty? Like, how do you convert a long-time tool advocate of another brand? So how do you convert an HP advocate to a Dell advocate?
Yeah, that's hard.
That's why you spend marketing dollars.
Right. No, and I think that's where, and especially only because HPE is the consumer brand, and so I'll talk about HPE, which really is, if you think about a enterprise data center and the amount that a Fortune 2000 company will spend on that to take out a competitor it's a huge deal, and it's engineers and it's services and it's all kinds of product and solution factors that are involved. But I think where we have been successful too is how do you make it sizzle to even open the door that they would have that conversation and consider you. And that's where I think a lot of our partners do really well with in the B2B space is that really unique kind of behind the scenes access to how a property uses our technology can be incredibly compelling. And you might be running data centers for a large bank, but to see in the McLaren garage and how they're doing the thermodynamics of the wind tunnel and our high performance compute is can be a really a once in a lifetime opportunity for a customer or a partner.
Yeah, and I'll jump in there. I got a great example how we use our program. So our NASCAR program, we run what we call an end user logo program. So when we go into a market, whether it's one of our B2B businesses or one of it's our brands like a DeWalt, we might go into that market, Texas market, and we put one of our customers' logos on the deck lid of that car. And what that does is it helps us drive revenue. It helps us. It could be a situation where we drop the ball and we need to give them something to make them happy. But I think we're always using our partnerships to bring somebody over from our competitor, something that our competitors can't offer.
Awesome. Makes sense.
Technology always works, so we don't have to worry about dropping the ball.
I need to get a new computer.
That's it. There you're going to be a Dell advocate after this.
Yeah.
But I think that's another, it's sometimes it's opening doors. It's, competitive takeout, but it can be a services issue or, and again, how do you cultivate that, not only awareness, preference, but that loyalty? It's an important piece.
Awesome. I love it. I'm going to try and get to as many as we can here. Tori, you weren't included in that one, so I'm going to throw your way from Mike Long. He asks, have any of your brand clients actually switched sports leagues or sponsorship platforms based on guidance from data analytics results? Without naming names, probably.
Yes. So the answer is yes. And I think some of the things that come to mind for me are clients who, once they had the data in front of them and they had it across their portfolio, could really see what was driving value for them versus properties that perhaps weren't. And so we have seen clients make decisions to actually drop investments from their portfolio based on the data. And I think it was probably they knew they were going to drop it and had a gut that it might be underperforming. But once they had it, it helped sort of fuel the decision. And we've also seen clients make shifts in their portfolio and potentially increase investments in other areas based on, and it could be with even, like I was saying earlier, within a league, for instance, across teams. And in other times where brands are evaluating a new property, and then we can, just because they're not a sponsor doesn't mean that we can't evaluate it for them to really help understand what assets might be driving value from that particular property. And even like a naming rights thing, I mean, something that's significant, you want to do some analysis and investment in that before you make a decision like that. So we've seen data influence that as well.
Awesome. Love it. Again, I'm going to try and get to as many as I can here. From Brad Zimmerman has the most upvotes on the thing. So a lot of people are interested in this one. For Ann and Tony, how important is ownable branded content for your respective brands? What's more important for you, 1 million views on TV or 1 million views on a digital platform, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, or YouTube, etc.?
Yeah, well, kind of jump in and I just say, I think the more you have a really rich engagement, always the better. And, again, being, highly targeted and B2B focused, we probably care about the quality over the quantity much more. And branded content, again, is, I think, we often use our partners in our thought leadership initiatives. And, we've seen a lot this year of us and other brands that are doing more in that space. And so definitely, I'd say branded content, thought leadership, influencer engagement, all really powerful ways, to reach our audiences that aren't just, a logo in an arena or on a car that, help you to actually communicate your message and your capabilities and, help drive that engagement.
And I agree 100%. I think it's that engagement. How many people are you engaging in and reaching out there, whatever demographic that is? Now, I do think that, visibility is very important to keep your brands in front of your consumers. I think about campaigns. Last year we ran in 2019 5 or 6 digital campaigns that we could actually put out there and engage and track that visibility, likes, impressions. 2020 has been totally different. We haven't been able to go out and shoot these campaigns, but the important, with our brand teams being more engaged in our partnerships than in the past, because we can't build them campaigns, we're actually seeing more engagement now than we did when we had campaigns a year ago. So I think, like Ann said, good engagement is probably the most important.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. And we're going to get to as many as we can here. There's another poll in the poll tab if you guys would like to, those who are watching want to take the poll. So quickly here from Katie Carew, I believe she's over at the Giants now, former GumGummer herself. How do you balance the analytics of physical assets and unmeasurable/intangible assets like team IP rights when evaluating the success of a team partnership?
Yeah, and I'll jump in. I think that goes back to the balanced scorecard. And, if we are going to use IP rights, whether it's in, TV or other creative or in our large shows, we know that has value and it has the sizzle factor. And, it's part of what we consider as we're thinking about new partnerships and how we use them. Because, I think if there's our investment thesis, if there's sort of a high value on the IP, we better know that we're going to put it to work. And if we don't have, a clear place where, it would fit, and it's more, we'd probably, steer towards more of a hospitality mix and more limited rights.
Yeah. What was her name that asked the question?
It's Katie Carew.
I think Katie sent me an email this week, actually, I guess, we have an NFL partnership, and, the NFL is, we want our partnerships to drive all of those important KPIs that I talked about: visibility, engagement, revenue, all of those different ones. And I think that, it's like Ann said, it's got to hit all of those KPIs to make sense before we actually do a partnership, because, it's hard to get visibility in the NFL if you're not doing something with networks. If you partner with networks and you buy some ad space, or you sponsor a show that's around NFL or college football, it's hard to get that visibility. So it's got to touch on all those major KPIs.
Awesome, thanks. And just to kind of finish up here, I know we have about 3 minutes left, so I want to kind of give us a look forward into 2020 and 2021. I know, Tony, you guys are big in women's sports, and I think you guys are big on the Alienware side and esports. But what are these emerging platforms, opportunities, pitches that you've seen, without maybe sharing too much, that get you really excited going into 2021? For those who are listening, what pitches would you like to see? Like, what is it? So what's going to get you excited, and what's getting you excited, and where are you guys thinking about investing? And then for those who are on and are thinking about potentially reaching out to you, Ann, or you, Tony, like, what is it that you want to see in a potential new relationship that you may explore?
Yeah, and I think, none of us know what 2021 holds. So I think everybody's being kind of conservative, of what their plans are going to be. But I think some places that we really need to take a look, we don't know if we're going to be able to activate like we did in the past. But esports, gaming, I think that it's something that was really important that we need to look at. I think by 2023, there's going to be over 600,000 gamers. And so, that's a platform that I think that's interesting to us. Music, I think that, who knows where concerts are going to be in 2021. So I think virtual concert series, sweepstakes, engagement through music and podcasts is probably going to be very, very important to us in 2021.
Man, I hate to give Tony credit. That was really good. I think we're spending a lot of time thinking about what is our next generation CXO, which honestly are probably here today in some ways. And, esports is a great one because it's, so key to our Alienware and our gaming audiences. But more and more, we're looking at ways, how do we engage the Dell Technologies audience with our esports partnerships? Because honestly, most of our IT decision makers, even if they're a CIO of a Fortune 500, probably was a gamer. And, more and more that's, it's, again, whether it's B2C, B2B, it's people. And so, how we use those type of properties. We also are really intrigued by music because I think it is a universal passion point, and something that, again, is one of our mission and vision is technology to drive human progress. And I think, obviously throughout the pandemic, we've seen technology play an essential role. We think it'll be, as we turn, it will again resume to where people want to hear about, kind of entertainment and distraction. And so while we've, this year largely focused on how we're helping our customers, I think I'm very optimistic we'll get into the point where we're, engaging and using technology to drive, more of the entertainment and the fun.
Awesome. And Tori, finish us off. What are your clients looking at you for? What are they wanting you to evaluate potentially? What areas are they interested in from an analytics standpoint that they may be looking to get into?
Yeah, I think from a sport and genre perspective, it's across the board. Esports certainly is one that we hear. We do work with a number of esports clients, but I think when we talk about what's next with our clients, it's a lot about platforms, right? And we were talking about this a bit earlier, Tony. TikTok, like, should we, is it something we can start to begin, to measure and really understand the impact that that's driving? So for us, it is a lot of adding different platforms, adding global platforms, things like that. But then also additional capabilities. People, at least in my experience, like to work with fewer vendors and partners. And so being able to add some adjacent capabilities to what we currently offer. We talk a lot about deeper audience insights and things like that. We offer some of those, but that's a whole nother area that our clients, are looking for us to go deeper in. And it's something that we're excited about, more sort of predictive and alert-based capabilities where we can, let Ann and Tony know that something just went really big and viral, and they don't have to go into the platform. It's just, being sent out to them so they can act on it. So those are more feature-based things that are things that we get really excited about, but really being a place that whether you're on the rights holder side or on the brand side, you can get, a very robust set of sponsorship analytics and not just focused on one specific area, but really hopefully filling out the whole tool set.
Awesome. And it's like you've done it before, finishing basically right on time. So, well, again, obviously everyone who joined us, thanks so much for joining us, and really appreciate Tori and GumGum for supporting this opportunity. And then obviously Ann and Tony for joining, even though they have some differences on the football field, but really do appreciate really do appreciate you guys and your insight that you shared. And again, everyone for asking questions and being super engaged, and looking forward to the next one. But thanks again, Tony, Tori, and Ann.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks all.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you all. I really appreciate it. It's been great to be here, and thank you for hosting, Adam, and for Tony and Ann, just being great clients and being very forward-looking brands that are embracing what we're doing. It's just been a pleasure to work with you both, and so thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.